Hi, my lovelies, and welcome to another episode of Somato Enlightenment. Kind of recapping a little bit of some of the stuff that we talked about earlier in the week. We talked about anger and resentment, and how that gets stored in your body and in the different organs, how that's related to your liver and your gallbladder. Also, depression is held in your liver, so that's kind of something else to kind of keep in mind. And then we talked a little bit about how things get stored in your body when you are sleeping, when you're unconscious, when you're sedated, when you're under medication, that kind of thing. Blow to the head, you get knocked unconscious, like all of these things, your body still remembers everything that happened. Even if you suffer from like retrograde amnesia, that kind of thing, your body still remembers everything that happens. So doing things like craniosacral therapy and hypnotherapy and things along those lines that kind of help you tap into your subconscious a little bit and get some of those things out of your body. Somatic emotional release as a part of craniosacral therapy is also really useful. So I also kind of wanted to recommend a book that kind of talks about how things get trapped in your body, like PTSD and things like that, and that's kind of how you end up with that. It's because you have these traumatic things happen that don't really get processed the way that they need to move through your body, and for you to be okay with it and be okay with things that happened afterwards and things that happened at that time. So I want to recommend this book. I know it's backwards. It's Your Body Keeps the Score, and it's by I think it's Basil Vander Cole. So you can kind of see that. Again, I'm sorry it's backwards, but that book is really helpful in kind of explaining things. He's an MD psychiatrist. He talks a lot about his history going through working with specifically people that have returned from war and things like that, and how things evolved from the First World War to the Second World War, and how things progressed with PTSD and head trauma and things like that through like Vietnam and then up into pretty recent. So it covers a lot of things. For me, because I've got some PTSD and they talk about some other issues in it, I kind of had to go back and forth on reading a bunch of it, and then I'd have to put it down for a little bit because it kind of got a little intense for me, and then I'd pick it up and read some more, and then towards the back it kind of goes over some things that they've done to kind of help with PTSD, and I think it also helps a lot with concussions, because that was kind of that was kind of the big thing with my PTSD was concussions. The funny thing about getting a concussion and the PTSD trauma, that kind of thing. One of the biggest concussions I had was getting hit with a soccer ball by. I was on the sidelines of a soccer game for men's college soccer, and I was talking to one of the guys who had some injury, and I was kind of bent over, and one of the guys kicked the ball and cleared it off from midfield, so it had some pretty good hang time, a lot of momentum when it hit me, and so it hit me in the back of the head just right, and it changed my world forever. But to this day, I can still tell the difference between somebody kicking a rugby ball, somebody kicking a soccer ball, and kicking any other kind of ball, because I will always remember the soccer ball, and I'm still a little terrified of it. I have since worked soccer since, so it's not a huge deal for me anymore, but I remember not too long after still going to the games, and every time I heard and I couldn't see the ball and I heard and I was like, So it was just kind of something that like I could tell the difference. But then I would go to like a rugby practice and somebody would kick the ball and same from like the same amount away, and I would just turn around and catch it. Like it wasn't even a big deal. But the soccer ball still terrified me because I had this concussion. So kind of some funny things there, PTSD wise. Some other PTSD things that I've gone through, I've kind of discussed a little bit, but won't go into that too much. So kind of what I wanted to do today was just kind of feel into my body and feel like maybe there's some PTSD trauma, maybe I've got some surgery trauma still or something like that, and just see where my body wants to go with it. I am noticing as soon as I start talking about all this stuff, I'm getting some pain and kind of like my mid-back almost, kind of like that transition between my lumbar vertebrae and my thoracic vertebrae right there around T12, L1. And I am noticing that specific vertebrae actually is kind of out of place. So that could have happened, it could have happened in my motorcycle accident, it could have happened playing rugby, it could have happened in a number of other ways and other reasons, but it seems to have an attachment to when I'm talking about PTSD and like things that I'm holding on to in my body still that I'm not consciously aware of the trauma. So again, I'm just gonna like let it feel through my body, kind of feel what's going on, where I want to move. I am noticing that as I move my hips this way, particularly that's those couple of vertebrae that I was talking about, particularly that T12 is kind of predominant. Again, as I move back over this way, I am noticing some kind of release on, it'd be on my right side. My left side is still very engaged, particularly around that vertebrae. My hand is just there kind of assessing. It's not really, I'm not digging into it. I'm just kind of assessing where that is. I'm going to see if I keep moving around a little bit, what's going on. I'm trying to feel throughout my body if there's something else that it seems to be attached to. Like I'm not feeling any connection to anything in my legs. I'm not feeling any connection to much of anything else except for this arm. It does feel a little connected to my upper body a little bit more than my lower body. It could be just because it's a thoracic vertebrae versus a lumbar vertebrae. Again, all of your spine really has to do with support. So it could have to do with, not getting the support I needed to process some trauma. It could have been, I wasn't aware of it. It could have been we talked a little bit about repressed memories. So this could be one of those things that I repressed after it happened, and that's why I can't think of a trauma that really affected right here, this part of my body. This again is one of those days where I feel like knowing what the trauma isn't really important. It may at some point be important if there's like one little bit that doesn't want to let go at some point. That will probably end up releasing when I get some sort of multi-hands work again, or possibly doing this in trying to really stay in a meditative state for a longer period of time than I normally do this for. I normally do this like anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes a day. Extended ones would be like an hour and a half to kind of see where things are going. So now I'm kind of going back to baseline, trying to feel into what my body's holding on to, and see if there's anything else that where I feel in my body as I think about PTSD and as soon as I say PTSD, that vertebrae just lights up. So there's something, that's my body's way of telling me, hey, you've still got something here. It's right here. And not only is it right here, but this is something that is definitely a trauma and definitely part of something that I am like repressing in my body and not really dealing with on the level that my body thinks that I should be. So I'm going to keep trying to honor my body and what it wants and see what happens when I move around a little bit more. And I'm noticing that as I kind of move backward and forward with my vertebrae right there, with my spine, that it seems to be moving a little bit more to this side. So try to see if it's a flexion or extension lesion. So it's getting stuck kind of in flexion. So basically, like, it's getting stuck as I'm moving, and so it's not moving the way that it's supposed to, forward and backwards. It's kind of getting stuck in one position and creating this like weird imbalance between this side of my vertebrae and this side of my vertebrae. So that's something that needs to be, I probably need to work on. I have a feeling that this one I'm probably going to, if I really want to get into it, I'm probably going to have to get either on my back or I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to need to be upside down a little bit, and I'm not exactly sure why. That's just the feeling that I have right now. So I'm going to wait and kind of do a little bit more with that later. That spot does feel a lot better when I think about it again. If I go back to reassessing and I'm thinking about PTSD and I'm thinking about all those things that happen to us that are kind of more on a subconscious level, I'm now feeling it's not so much in that one vertebrae. Now I'm feeling it a little bit more in this left hip. So while I'm standing here, I might do just a little bit more work on it and just kind of notice, like right here, it's like right next to my SI joint, that dimple in my back, and the muscle there just feels like it feels really tight, but now it feels like as I'm moving, it's kind of relaxing and getting in a nicer position. And then, like, if I kind of follow that spot up just a little bit more, kind of along my iliac crest, along that bone, your pelvis bone. Again, I just got my thumb here. I'm not really digging into it. I'm just kind of putting it there as a way of just letting my body know that this is the area that I want to work on. And then I'm just kind of moving around a little bit and kind of seeing what else happens. So this feels like this is really going to release something when I do this. And I feel it down my hamstring a little bit and noticing. So now when I kind of move around and I think about PTSD and I think about things that happened that I might not be able to consciously remember, just kind of feeling that out a little bit. I am still feeling a little bit in that joint, but it's not as predominant as it just was. I am noticing that I've got a little bit of pain in my, like right in the middle there, kind of where my piriformis muscle is, one of my rotators in my hip. But I'll work on that later, and I hope that you enjoyed today's video. And again, I'll show that book one more time just so that you can kind of get a look for the cover. And you can check out the rest of my videos on Somato Enlightenment on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks, and have a great day.